The umpires tonight, John Hirschbeck is behind the plate. Jim Joyce at first base, crew chief Jim McKean at second, and Ted Hendry will work at third. And please do not adjust your set. It is my voice. I apologize in advance. I woke up this morning with a Canadian cold. How do you tell Canadian cold from an American cold?
Oh, 20% worse.
When you cough, you follow it with an A. Okay.
Oh, I got you.
Paul Quantrill has come out for the bell. There was some doubt. Mark Parent hit him with a line drive in the right instep the last time he faced the Orioles, September 22nd. He finished that third inning. It could not come out for the fourth, and there was some doubt as to whether he would pitch tonight, but he is on the mound.
Well, it's that right foot, which is key to pushing off, which is key to velocity. It doesn't appear at this moment that he's really putting a lot of weight on it, so we'll have to wait and see how he fares.
Quantrill just recently moving back to the rotation after pitching out of the bullpen, but when Juan Guzman, one of the Blue Jays' best pitchers, went down with appendicitis and underwent an operation, he was pressed into service and pitched very well in his first start, but then came back against the Orioles and worked only the 3 innings and had no decision in that 5-4 loss on the 22nd.
But you can see he's barely using that right foot at all to push off. He has to use a lot more arm. Again, it may affect his velocity and control.
But the emergency start he made for Juan Guzman was on September the 7th in New York, and he pitched 6 shutout innings against the Yankees to get the win.
He hasn't fared real well against the Orioles. This is his 3rd start against the Orioles, 3rd start against Scott Erickson. 0-2.
So we are ready to go. Brady Anderson got us started last night with a home run off the foul pole in right off Woody Williams, and then Cal Ripken hit a 3-run homer off the foul pole and left in the 4th. And that's really all the Orioles needed the way Rocky Coppinger pitched. Strike one to Brady, who has 48 homers, within 1 of the club record of 49 set by Frank Robinson. Fastball outside, 1-1. We'll be keeping our eye on a couple of other games. Seattle plays at Oakland tonight. Terry Mulholland pitches for the Mariners. Dave Tailgater for the A's. And the Mariners currently 2.5 games back of the Orioles in the wild card chase. An Oriole win and a Seattle loss, and it's over. The Orioles are headed to the postseason.
And the only thing about that, we won't know until, I guess, 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe the earliest, the outcome of that ball game. So the Orioles to address the job at hand, the Blue Jays.
And the White Sox are currently 3 games out, so if the Orioles should win this game, that would eliminate Chicago. Swing and a miss, and Brady Anderson strikes out. Looked like a changeup by Quantrill.
I'm sure the Oriole hitter is not really knowing what to expect from Quantrill. Again, with that bad right foot. But he peppers the outside corner consistently in this at bat against Brady Anderson.
And the fans boo Robbie Alomar as he comes up for the first time. What's new? Welcome back to Toronto. Robbie hitting .330. He's been in a little slump lately, hitting .225 this month, but he has a chance to finish with the highest average in club history. The record is a .328 average. Ken Singleton hit .328 in 1977, ironically, saying he is here at the Sky Dome tonight. Talked about perhaps clinching this thing early and being able to rest some regulars the last day or 2 of the season. I would think Alamar is a prime candidate. I think he's a little weary.
Yeah, no question. Rafael Palmeiro, first base. I think he's missed 1 game all season. Bobby Bonilla's played in 156 games. Just a question, it'd be up to the players. Brady's played in 146. Of course, Cal has played every single one.
See the Orioles wearing the black uniforms with the black hats and orange bills, something they went to the last time Scott Erickson pitched at home and beat Toronto.
Well, obviously Scotty's favorite color.
Well, they call him Dr. Death. Black is his favorite color. He and Rocky Coppinger both selected the black uniforms the last time they pitched at home, and both won. Then the Orioles continued the trend in the makeup game against Milwaukee, but lost. Strike 3. Alamar is called out on strikes and not too happy about it. He and John Hirschbeck are getting into it pretty good.
Well, Hirschbeck is known as a pitcher's umpire. He's saying that pitch is way outside. You can read his lips. So I'm not going to swing at it if it's way outside in the ball. But I'll tell you, Scotty Erickson, in talking with him yesterday when he saw John Hirschbeck umpiring first base, was real excited.
Hirschbeck pointing into the Oriole dugout, and he's just thrown Alamar out of the game. Here come Davy Johnson and Alamar charging toward home plate. Hirschbeck threw him out of a very big game, and you can understand the Orioles just being furious. And Alamar's trying to get at Hirschbeck. The rest of the umpires are coming in to try to keep him away from John Hirschbeck.
And now Hirschbeck is saying that Alamar bumped him.
What a loss for the Orioles in a big game. They lose perhaps their best all-around player as Robbie Alomar is ejected from the game in the first inning. First time he's been thrown out of a game this year.
Mad as I think I've ever seen Robbie Alomar.
So a major blow for the Orioles. You would think, and I don't know what Robbie said to get thrown out, but you would hope that umpires would show a little more restraint in a game of this significance because emotions are running high anyway.
You can see, you know, O'Brien holds that glove in the center of his chest to be the outside corner. You can see clearly off the outside part of the plate. So Alamar had a legitimate beef. And there are a few magic words you can use with any umpire to get ejected. But Hirschbeck, as we were going to say before Alamar got ejected, very much a pitcher's umpire, very much a low ball umpire. It suits Scotty Erickson just fine.
Now Davy Johnson has lost his second baseman. I would assume Billy Ripken would go in to play second. We'll see. Todd Zeile lifts a high fly ball down the right field line. Sean Green into foul ground, reaches and makes a great catch. And the Orioles are down in order, and they'll take the field without Roberto Alomar, who's been ejected. Enjoy the charm of Camden Yards by participating in an Oriole Park tour. Daily tours provide fans a behind-the-scenes look at Baltimore's famous ballpark. Call 410-547-6234 for more information. Here's an overhead look at the pitch that Alamar was so upset about. You can see it was about a foot outside. He argued with John Hirschbeck.
That little bump there you're going to have to worry a little bit about. That's one of the things. That's what he's talking about right there. Is you bump me right in the nose. Davey just trying to get Alamar out of the picture at this point. He's saying, how can you throw him on the game like this?
And Billy Ripken takes over at second base. He will bat second. How costly is the loss of Alamar?
Well, you won't lose a lot, certainly defensively, maybe a little on the offensive side. But
foul ball, strike one to Jacob Brumfield.
That's the great thing about having, as Earl Weaver said, deep depth.
Scott Erickson has been a real workhorse again this year, making his 34th start. Pitched 215 and 2/3 innings. He enters tonight just 3 innings shy of his career high with the Twins in 1993 when he pitched 218 and 2/3.
Just having another great September. 4-0 last season with a 1.4 ERA, 4 complete games this year. 4-0 with a no decision in September.
Slider is hit in the air to left field. B.J. Surhoff makes the catch.
Did you see how Davey reacts to the first close pitch that the Orioles don't get? Have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, you're talking about John Hirschbeck being a pitcher's umpire with a large strike zone, but will that change now because of the argument, the ejection?
Again, that's Scotty's eyes lit up when he saw the Hirschbeck behind the plate, but many times you start questioning that strike zone, they tighten it up.
Ball one to Felipe Crespo, who's playing second base tonight. Crespo, who spent most of the year at Syracuse, playing in his 19th game, hitting just 167.
And Earl Weaver was the type of manager that really stayed on the umpires. He felt he could intimidate certain umpires, and there were some umpires he couldn't, and the ones he couldn't, what they would do is stick it to the pitcher. In other words, I'd throw a pitch right down the middle of the plate. He'd call ball and stare over at Weaver like saying there. So I had to develop a little rapport with the umpire for those situations.
Chopper up the middle. Billy Ripken is up with it. Fires to first in time to get Cressball. Really an exceptional glove man, no matter where you play him. He played about a 6 or 7 game stretch at third base earlier this year when B.J. Surhoff was hurt and was marvelous defensively.
Well, he just worked so hard between and days off. An early batting practice, early hitting. What they love about Billy is he can sit for a month, come in, and his skills have not deteriorated. Makes all the plays. Gamer. Get you a clutch hit every now and then. Very valuable asset.
Carlos Delgado up for the first time. He was 0 for 4 last night. Ground ball up the middle for a base hit. Delgado is aboard with the first Blue Jay hit.
And Delgado had a couple of hits off Erickson last time they met. Had a home run the first time up. Batted 6th in that game, and I think because of that terrific game against Erickson, moved to the 3rd spot tonight.
And now the big RBI man, Joe Carter, coming up. He's driven in 105 runs, hit 30 home runs, the 30th coming off an Oriole pitcher, Rick Krivda. Not had a lot of success against Erickson, though, hitting .220 lifetime with 9 hits in 41 at bats. He does have 2 home runs.
Yeah, tough for Joe to lift that sinker. 2 home runs, certainly coming on pitches up in the zone.
This one is popped up in the infield. Billy Ripken makes the catch. That does it for the Blue Jays at the end of 1. No score from Skydome. The Sheraton Inner Harbor Hotel is the official headquarter hotel of the Orioles, 2 blocks from Camden Yards and steps away from Baltimore's harbor attractions. It offers first-class rooms, amenities, and service. The Sheraton Inner Harbor Hotel, a major league hotel in a major league city. Well, by this time last night, I think we had about 4 innings in the book. Last night's game took 2 hours and 10 minutes. It would have been even faster than that, but for a couple of pitching changes in the 9th. Former Blue Jay general manager and current GM of the Orioles, Pat Gillick, back in Toronto. Rafael Palmeiro, Bobby Bonilla, Cal Ripken for the Orioles in the 2nd to face Paul Quantrill, who had a good first inning, striking out 2 of the 3 batters he faced. And then Sean Green ran down a foul drive off the bat of Todd Zeile to end the inning. Strike 1 to Palmeiro.
Well, so far he's done a good job of keeping the ball down and away from these Oriole hitters.
When the Orioles beat Paul Quantrill July 2nd here at Skydome 8-2, Rafael Palmeiro and Bobby Bonilla had back-to-back home runs off of him. So he knows they can strike quickly.
And that was really his last game as a starter. Moved to the bullpen for a number of appearances, and then once Guzman went down for the season, he stepped in and filled that role.
Stroke to left field, and that's in there for a base hit. Palmeiro's 3rd hit of the series. Ralphie finishing up strong, 39 homers, 142 RBIs.
Once again, showing a lot of durability. He's only missed 1 game.
And with Cal Ripken going over the 100 RBI mark, the Orioles now have 4 men who've driven in 100 or more runs. Palmeiro leads the way with 142. Bobby Bonilla's next with 116. Brady Anderson has 108 and Cal 102 RBIs. Ball 1 to Bobby Bowe, who was 0 for 3 last night with a run scored. Healthy cut, and it's fouled back.
Bobby shaking his head. That was his pitch.
You know, we've often talked about the types of pitchers the Orioles seem to feast on and the type that give them problems. Quantrill was more to their liking. He's a power pitcher. His fastball is his best pitch. Doesn't change speeds real well. Doesn't throw a lot of off-speed stuff. He's the kind they usually light up.
At least so far in Quantrill's defense, he has been making quality pitches. Doesn't appear to be overthrowing as he does many times. And so far, a very generous strike zone to pitch to, which helps a pitcher like Quantrill. Can you take advantage of that wide strike zone?
Bobby sends one to deep left field. Back goes Joe Carter and makes the catch.
You see how quickly this Oriole offense makes adjustments. First inning, they try to pull the ball, a couple of strikeouts, fly out. The Oriole hitters coming up. Palmeiro goes to the opposite field, base hit, not trying to pull that ball away. Bonilla tries to drive it to left field.
And Cal Ripken up with one out. Cal had a home run last night, a 3-run blast off Woody Williams in the 4th to put the Orioles up 4-0. Chops the first pitch foul.
And that's the pitch that hurts Woody Williams the most. 3-run home run. They put the game out of reach the way Rocky was throwing. And early.
Cal has been hitting pretty well lately. He's hit safely in 13 of his last 14 games, hitting .298 over that stretch with 14 runs batted in. Cal's situation is a little different than most players. With most players, when they go into a slump, Davey Johnson will give them a day off or 2 days off. Not with Cal. He just has to play right through it. Whether he's tired or not tired, he just keeps on chugging and eventually comes out of it.
Well, and that's what Cal's explanation. You know, I don't duck the good pitchers. I don't get a day off against Randy Johnson or Roger Clemens. Some maybe a valid argument that his numbers be much better with an occasional day off, but Cal's philosophy has always been, I can rest all winter.
Cal now playing in his 2,314th consecutive game. When will it ever end?
Well, I think it may not end this week, and there was some speculation with the Orioles clinching early. Sure, he'll take a few innings off.
High drive deep down the right field line and foul. Yeah, imagine if the Orioles clinch, he'd start both the remaining games, probably be taken out fairly early.
Yeah, probably like a spring training game, play 4 or 5 just to stay sharp. And certain hitters may have a couple of personal accomplishments they might want to reach.
See the Blue Jay dugout making the change with Alamar being tossed out. Fly ball to right. Sean Green retreats and makes the catch. The Orioles have kept Green busy in this series so far. It was Green who dropped a ball in a game last year against the Orioles. It really allowed a 9th inning rally to continue, and the Orioles staged a big rally, came from behind and beat the Blue Jays. And Green was never really the same defensively after that. He was very tentative, and so they sent him to the instructional league during the offseason to try to get his aggressiveness back in the outfield. Eddie Murray up for the first time. He went hitless at 4 at-bats last night.
I think one of the reasons the Orioles hit pitchers like Quantrill so well is that they really are a fastball hitting club, and much better when they know what's coming. And you will get, in the course of an at-bat, one for sure, 2 fastballs to hit. You don't have to worry about a changeup if you get over the plate 2-0. He's not that type of a pitcher.
1-1 to Eddie, who has just 3 hits in his last 20 at-bats. Hard ground ball to Felipe Crespo. And he throws out Eddie Murray at the end of an inning and a half from Toronto. No score. Add more excitement to your next party by scheduling an appearance by the Oriole Bird. Whether you're celebrating a birthday or any special occasion, the Oriole Bird is a guaranteed hit. To schedule an appearance, call 410-547-6140. Mr. September getting ready. Amazing success. I like Davey Johnson's explanation as to why he thinks Scott Erickson has been so successful in September. 4-0 this year, 8-0 over the last 2 years, and 20 career wins in September. And he said it's because Scotty's arm gets tired at this time of the year, and it gets more natural sinking action.
He does a lot of weight work. Very strong individuals. Deceiving size. He's about 6'4", about 235 pounds. And he's what they call in the category as a horse. And he maintains that weight room regimen throughout the whole season. And it's nice when he seems to gets around 200 innings, 180 innings. That delivery really falls into place. He starts getting a lot of the touch on his pitch that Pat Dobson talks so much about.
But most sinker ball pitchers, and he's a little different than the traditional sinker baller, someone like a Tommy John, because he throws much harder. This is belted into center field. Brady Anderson on the move and can't get it. It's over his head and off the wall. Ed Sprague leads off the second with a double. But you often hear sinker ballers talking about keeping their arms stretched out, which is his arms should be pretty well stretched by now.
He came shaking his head on that pitch. It's a slider in the middle of the plate. Sprague just nails it over Brady's head. In the last 3 at bats against Scott Erickson, Sprague's hit 3 doubles. So far, Scotty had a little bit of difficulty with that slider up in the strike zone. Sprague has always been what they call a cripple hitter. You leave a pitch in the middle of the plate, whether it be fastball, slider, or change, he's going to have a good rip at it.
John Olerud steps in for the first time. He was hitless in 3 at bats last night. Ball 1 to Olerud. I was talking with Willie Upshaw, the hitting coach, about Olerud last night, and I said, is he the hitter who won a batting title hitting .363, or is he what he is right now? And he said probably somewhere in between. I said, well, that .363 average might be something he'll never come close to again, although Olerud thinks he might be able to duplicate it. But Willie was saying, I think he's somewhere between where he was last year when he hit .291 and this year where he's hitting .276. He's probably in that range.
Now, John has one of the best swings in all baseball. He really has a little man swing for someone about 6'5". Short stroke, not a real power stroke. And I'm a little surprised. To me, I thought he'd be right around a 300 hitter lifetime, because not much to go wrong with the swing. Hits the ball to all fields. I didn't like those big guys with short swings. Tough to pitch to.
Swing and a miss by Olerud, and it's 2-2. His numbers have dropped dramatically in all categories since that career year in 1993. At .363 that year with 24 homers, drove in 109 runs, and had 54 doubles. Since then, his average has dropped to .297 the next year, .291 last year, and this year in the .270s.
I think as went the team, the 1993 Blue Jays, of course, World Series champs.
Up the middle by Bill Ripken for a base hit. Ed Sprague will come around to score, and Toronto takes the lead. And you can't help but asking yourself, if Robbie Alomar was in there, does he come up with that ball?
Well, only if he's maybe playing a different position than where Billy Ripken is. I mean, positioning on the field more up the middle. Not much you can do on AstroTurf. And that's why I guess Scotty in his career has had some difficulty pitching on AstroTurf, because the ground balls just, they don't slow down, they pick up speed.
That was certainly no criticism of Billy Ripken, who is a superior defensive player, but we're just so used to seeing Alamar make the incredible plays. But I think you're right. I don't think even Robbie gets that ball on this surface. Strike 1 to Charlie O'Brien. O'Brien has played more this year than ever before in his career. Played in 106 games. The Jays wanted to use Sandy Martinez behind the plate the last couple of games, but he's had a bad stomach. O'Brien has been around for a long time, played with the Brewers and the Mets and the Braves last year. Given a lot of success or credit for the success of the Braves staff a year ago. A guy, you know, I guess you could put him in the same category with Mark Parent. Veteran catcher, primarily a guy who's been a backup catcher most of his career, but someone who can really help a pitcher with his knowledge of the game and ability to set up hitters, throw runners out. He hooks one, foul.
Well, so far, Erickson having trouble with that slider. He continues to throw it to try to find it. It's a pitch. Sprague hit for a double. That one there to O'Brien, up and in the middle of the plate. Scotty's right. That slider down on the outside. And situation here, you really want to take advantage of, I guess, Hirschbeck being behind the plate. If you're going to miss, you want to miss low with John Hirschbeck as umpire.
Struck him out.
That was a good slider.
First strikeout for Scott Erickson. He's not a big strikeout pitcher. He's only struck out 96 this year in over 200 innings. His forte is the ground ball out.
It's hard to be both, you know, a power sinker baller and a strikeout pitcher. Because you would throw that good sinker, you want the hitters to make contact. Scotty still has the ability and the power, I guess, to strike out somebody when he has to.
Sean Green hits the first pitch to Palmeiro, steps on the bag, throws to second, and Olerud is tagged out to complete the double play. But the Blue Jays score a run to take the lead at the end of 2. It's 1-0 Toronto. The Orioles have just turned to Deer Park double play. In recognition, Deer Park Springwater will make a donation to the local RBI program that provides inner city children with the opportunity to learn and enjoy baseball. Deer Park, that's good water. And I think there may be a problem with Blue Jay pitcher Paul Quantrill, because Cito Gaston first went to the plate umpire John Hirschbeck, spoke with him, then the trainer came out of the dugout, and all three are headed out to the mound to check on Quantrill.
He wants a trainer to be there, and we've noted early that he was not using that back leg to push off with. Many times you jeopardize your shoulder by not using the proper mechanics. That's what Quantrill was talking about. I really can't push off, but if I use my arm a little bit more, I'll be all right, and I'll try to change speeds and pitch. So Cito's going to have to make the decision here.
I'm sure Quantrill would like to continue as Huck Flenner gets ready just in case. He's had a long year. He's 5-14. He'd like to try to finish up on a positive note.
But you got to admire, I guess, the effort that he's trying to put forth. It looks like he's not going to say take me out. He's going to make Cito make that decision. Cito seems to keep putting it on. Well, tell me how you feel. Are you 100%? Obviously, I'm not.
He has pitched 2 scoreless innings so far, though, and allowed just 1 hit.
And what happened is the Orioles, I think, have been looking for much more than's coming velocity-wise. When normal, Quantrill throws in the low 90s. So it appears that he's throwing maybe in the mid 80s, but trying to locate. And that's what he's saying. I can't drive towards the plate, but I can pitch like this. I actually think many times you have something a little bit wrong, a sore ankle, sore toe. You can't push off as much, but you learn more about pitching by changing speeds.
And Cito's going to let him continue, at least for now.
He has Huck Flenner, who was rumored to have started if Quantrill couldn't make it. He pitched real well against the Orioles, even though he got a loss in Quantrill's last start when he left with the foot injury.
And Flenner continues to throw, which would lead you to believe that maybe this is going to be Quantrill's last inning regardless.
But you could really tell in warming up that he was almost like he was playing catch. Davey just wants to know what's going on, because, hey, you're making my pitcher sit over here for 5-10 minutes.
And you also threw my second baseman out of the game in the first inning.
Yeah, that too.
For those of you who may have tuned in a little bit late, Robbie Alomar was ejected from the game in the first inning after arguing balls and strikes with John Hirschbeck. B.J. Surhoff leads off the third with Toronto ahead 1-0. And takes ball 1 from Paul Quantrill, who's now thrown 35 pitches. B.J. had 2 hits last night. 1-1. See him questioning the call.
I was wondering, how far is that outside corner now? He looks down at the outside part of the plate. What the hitters try to gauge is that outside corner, how far it is away. When they take their batting stances in the box, they want to be able to cover the outside strike.
That's low, and it's 3-1. Did you feel as a pitcher, if you complained about balls and strikes, that it Did it make the umpire mad, or did it give you an edge that maybe you get a call later? Crespo up with a ground ball.
I made a DJ grounding out the second, but I tried to stay on the umpire's good side. I think with Earl in the dugout always yelling at him, I had to sort of be the arbitrator between. I know.
So it was a good cop, bad cop routine.
That's right. That's exactly what happened. They had a game where I threw a pitch down the middle. The umpire called it a ball. Earl went bananas. Next pitch I threw down the middle. The umpire called it a ball. And I just walked in and said, look, if he's really bothering you, throw him out. But don't be sticking it to me on the mound. They said we'll have a nice, quiet game. And so he threw Earl out and had a nice, quiet game.
Did Earl ever find out you told him that?
I told him that right before he went into Cooperstown. I figured it was a good time to tell him that story.
One ball, one strike to Mark Parent, who gets a start tonight behind the plate. And the Orioles have gone 8-1 when Parent has started.
But sometimes that method was effective for Earl, and sometimes it wasn't. There were certain umpires that I know he bought me a lot of pitches.
With the Orioles going 8-1 with Parent starting, is that mere coincidence, or his contribution's been that important?
No, I think it has been that important, and it's given, twofold. I guess it gives Chris Hoyles a rest. Chris has caught, I think, 125 games. And then you put in someone that has the experience that Parent has.
Gobbled up by Ed Sprague, who spins, throws, and gets Parent. Nothing wrong with the way Paul Quantrill was pitching in terms of results. Getting a lot of ground outs. He's only given up one hit.
Well, he was real happy that this ball didn't go off his foot. Mark Parent was the one that hit that ball off Quantrill's foot last time out. But I had a bad ankle, I think, in 1978, and didn't miss any starts, pitched through it. But I learned to change speeds, make the ball sink, add a little, take a little off. Just as I always believed that in a four-man rotation, you will learn to pitch quicker. Not, I mean, in pace, but the light bulb of how to pitch will go on. You realize I don't have to throw every pitch as hard as I can. If I can locate and change speeds, it's just as important as velocity. That's the only way you can pitch in really a four-man rotation from start to finish of any season, is not try to overpower people, but to pitch.
1-2 to Brady Anderson. Blue Jays lead 1-0. Ripped to right field and deep and gone. Number 49 for Brady Anderson. A line shot to right. He has just tied the Oriole club record for most home runs in a season, matching Frank Robinson's 49. And one of Frank's former teammates, Davey Johnson, looking on as Brady crosses home plate and has tied the game with one swing.
Well, you talk about a career year where Brady has really been locked in from start to finish.
Frank Robinson accomplishing that feat in 1966. Brady has done it 30 years later. Base hit for Billy Ripken. And he'll go into second with a double. And Billy taking over for Roberto Alomar, who was tossed out, rips it double into the left field corner.
Always very aggressive with the bat. But Brady, just a model of consistency. I know you tell the story a few times about Palmeiro. We learned a lot about Palmeiro, just 6 or 7 a month, and Brady's pretty much done that all season. April he hit 11, May he hit 9, June 7, July 6, August 8, and this month that is his 8th.
Well, it needs one more for 50. No Orioles ever had a 50 home run season. Brady's previous high was 21. He's hit 49, 28 more than his previous high.
Well, when you think about it, Eddie Murray just hitting his 500th home run this season. Never hit more than 33 in a season. I mean, Brady's hit 16 more than Eddie ever hit in one season. Staggering. And just as you say, with John Olerud, which one is the real Brady Anderson? Is it somewhere in between 21 and 49? I can remember the year George Bell had up here with the Blue Jays in '87, where I saw him hit 47 home runs, and I told George at the end of the year, I said, George, next year I hope you hit 35. And I thought he almost took it as an insult, but you got to realize 35 home runs is one heck of a year. If you can do that every year, you get a chance to make the Hall of Fame.
Brady has just been locked in from the beginning of the year. Davey Johnson describes it as he looks for pitches in a certain zone from the middle in about thigh high. When he gets it, takes that swing with a slight uppercut, and that's enabled him to hit 49 home runs.
Well, just amazing. It doesn't seem like he wastes any at bat. He appears to have the same stance, the same approach every game, every at bat. And he's just been a model of consistency.
He also now has 109 runs batted in.
And he really has turned it on in September. Is one of the reasons, obviously, last night, important part of that win.
Slow bouncer to the shortstop, Alex Gonzalez, who throws to first, retires Pat Zeal. But the Orioles tie it up on Brady Anderson's 49th home run of the season.
And welcome back. Tom Davis here with the Geico Auto Insurance scoreboard. We'll begin with Seattle taking on Oakland tonight at 10:05. A Mariners loss and an Orioles win gives the Orioles the wild card. White Sox one loss away from elimination, playing Minnesota. They're scoreless in the first. Boston has a 4-1 advantage over the Yankees in the fourth inning. Reggie Jefferson singled in one. Darren Bragg with a 2-run double. In the National League, San Diego and Los Angeles tonight at 10:05, excuse me. LA leads San Diego by 2, and Atlanta on top of Montreal 1-0 in the third on a Fred McGriff scoring fly ball. So that's the Geico scoreboard. Back to Toronto. Mel and Mike.
Mel Proctor, Mike Flanagan back at Skydome in Toronto with a score tied 1-1. Alex Gonzalez will lead off the third inning for the Blue Jays against Scott Erickson. Toronto took the lead in the second when Ed Sprague doubled. John Olerud singled him home, and then the Orioles tied it up on Brady Anderson's home run in the bottom of the third, or top of the third. 1-0 to Gonzalez. The young shortstop went 1 for 3 last night. Two balls and no strikes, and that'll bring Mark Parent out to the mound. Davey Johnson was talking why Parent and Erickson work so effectively together, and he was saying Parent not only calls a good game, but he's almost like a pitching coach, and he can read a pitcher's mechanics. He can tell when the shoulder's flying out or when a pitcher's stepping in the wrong way, and go out and get it straightened out right then and there, and not have to wait between innings.
Well, I think what they're talking about last game, Gonzalez hit a home run off Scott Erickson. It was a pitch that Erickson shook off Mark Parent. And I think in this situation, they just want to, again, be on the same page, especially with a 2-0 count.
Three and 1 to Gonzalez.
And that's the pitch that Mark Parent wants Scott Erickson to throw repeatedly. Down and over the outside part of the plate. Not much the hitter can do with that pitch. Pitch he wasn't getting last time out.
Well, that's low, ball 4, and Erickson walks the leadoff batter, Alex Gonzalez. And the number 9 hitter. Scotty doesn't strike out many. He also doesn't walk many. That's only the 64th walk he's allowed in 217 and 2/3 innings.
No, and I think that's, even though Gonzalez is hitting ninth, there's certain hitters and lineups that give you trouble, and I think Gonzalez is one for Erickson.
Here's Jacob Brumfield, who's been swinging a hot bat. And Gonzalez also presents problems here because he can run, and Erickson has had a hard time controlling the running game. Gonzalez with 15 steals. He's been caught 6 times. Reaches back for a little extra on that one and throws it right by Brumfield.
That's the thing that makes Scotty not the traditional sinker baller. He does throw the ball at times in the low 93, 94 mile-an-hour sinkers.
Power sinkers.
Power sinkers.
Back with another strike, and it's 0-2. And now Brumfield is upset.
Well, you see a lot of complaining from the hitters tonight again with the big strike zone. They want that strike zone to be as small as possible. Of course, the pitcher wants it to be as large as possible, but both sides want it to be consistent.
A little bit low, and it's 1-2. Talking about Erickson's difficulty with the running game. He's allowed 31 stolen bases with only 3 caught stealing. He's allowed more steals than any other Oriole pitcher, but since Mark Parent has been back there with Erickson pitching, teams are not running as much as they used to on Scotty.
They're just not getting on as much, you know, when you're having these great Septembers that he's put up. He hasn't had as many base runners. I think he's really cut down on his number of base on balls. He's only walked 4 or 3 his last 35 innings.
The Orioles and Blue Jays are tied 1-1, bottom of the 3rd.
The best way to stop the running game is not let him get on first.
Swing and a miss by Brumfield, and he strikes out. Slider.
Slider's got much better this inning.
It was a big breaking slider.
Seems like he was trying to throw a hard, shorter one early in the game, was leaving it up. So many times what you do is you take a little bit off it, which, just as you said, Mel, increases the break, and it's a little slower and gives the ball a chance to finish. Sometimes you'll overpower that slider and you just leave it spinning.
Felipe Crespo up for the 2nd time. There goes Gonzalez. Parent fires to second base. Safe. Gonzalez steals second, his 16th stolen base, and the 32nd allowed by Scott Erickson.
Well, Scotty really doesn't have a slide step. Parent has a low pitch to handle. Pretty good tag by Cal. Actually a lot closer than I thought it would
be. Crespo now has a chance to drive in the go-ahead run with 1 out. And Gonzalez now at second base. Crespo has been swinging the bat quite well. Has 4 hits in his last 9 at-bats. He lines a base hit to left field. Gonzalez will go to 3rd.
Well, you're right again. Doesn't try to do too much. Pitch from Erickson a little bit up on the outside part, just goes with it. Gonzalez has to hold up to make sure Ripken doesn't catch this ball. Just stays up enough for Crespo to get underneath it and line it over shortstop. See from that swing about belt high.
I believe it was the last time he faced this club. Scotty was having trouble getting his pitches low in the early innings, and then began to settle down, found the right arm slot, start throwing the sinker, and he was in business and went on to win it.
Yeah, it was a real battle for him last time out, though. Probably his most difficult game this month as far as stuff was concerned.
Carlos Delgado singled his first time up. Runners at 1st and 3rd, 1 out. Strike 1 to Delgado. Delgado, who eats up right-handed pitching but struggles badly with left-handers and normally doesn't play against left-handed pitching.
Well, that's a real tough situation for Erickson, because Delgado over in Baltimore had a homer and a double his first 2 times up. A homer and a triple, actually. Davy Johnson elected to walk him intentionally.
Takes a big swing but pops it up. Cal Ripken goes out into shallow left field and makes the catch. Gonzalez holds at 3rd.
That's a break.
Big break.
I think we said at the time Davey elected to walk Delgado, I think, to go ahead and run, put him on base. Scotty ended up pitching out of that jam.
And now the RBI machine coming to the plate. Joe Carter. Carter popped to second and the first inning.
Really, with the way Ed Sprague on deck has been swinging the bat, you would expect Erickson to really go after Joe Carter here. Sprague obviously still looking for his 100th RBI of the season. Carter already has his.
Strike one to Joe Carter. He really hasn't been hitting for much of an average since the All-Star break, hitting only .212. He's still a very dangerous hitter with men on base. And Erickson jumps ahead in the count, 0-2.
That's the best sinker Scotty's thrown. May take a little bit more time, and really it's not to get the rosin bag or all that. Is just time to think what you want to throw in this situation. Got Carter out in the slider first time. Do I want to do it the same way? Do I want to change? You see a slider down from Parent.
A hanging slider hit to right, and that's in there. Gonzalez scores. Crespo goes to third. To be held there. Almost runs through a stop sign. They've got a shot at him, and he is saved. Just gets back. But Alex Gonzalez comes in to score on a single by Joe Carter, and the Blue Jays are back on top 2-1. For Carter, his 106th run batted in. Erickson's upset because he hung that slider.
Well, you can see that Mark Parent wanted it down in the strike zone or even in the dirt. Maybe get Carter to chase it. Didn't want to have any chance of reaching this pitch.
And we'll get a pinch runner for Joe Carter now.
It really looked like he was limping going down the first base.
Robert Perez will run for him as Crespo just made it back to third. He ran right through a stop sign. He was lucky he didn't get nailed.
Well, the Blue Jays lose their number 4 hitter. The Orioles lose their number 2 in this game so far.
1-0 to Ed Sprague. Runners at first and third. 2 outs. The Blue Jays lead 2-1. Sprague needs just one more RBI for his first 100 RBI season. He doubled and scored his first time up. Pulled foul. Two runs, 5 hits for Toronto. 1 run, 3 hits for the Orioles. Strike 2. You never know what Cito Gaston is going to do in a situation like this. We saw him use a squeeze bunt in Baltimore, something he never does, but his team's out of contention. They're just trying to play the role of the spoiler, so he might pull out all the stops, try a double steal, who knows. Although with Sprague up, I think he wants him to get the 100th RBI, so probably let him swing. That hit him. Well, the bases are loaded. Now, wait a minute. John Hirschbeck's calling Sprague back. Sprague shows him his arm where he got hit. Hirschbeck says, all right, take first base.
Well, Ed Sprague does get hit a lot.
Well, scouting in a jam now with the bases loaded and John Olerud coming up.
He really hits off that back elbow. The ball just keeps bearing in on Ed Sprague.
Well, that's the 12th time Sprague has been hit this year, the 51st time in his career, which is an all-time Blue Jay record. He was tied with Lloyd Mosby, who also was hit 50 times. And the Blue Jays as a team have set a major league record some time ago for most hit batsmen. That's with Sprague being hit. That's the 90th batter who's been plunked. Bases are loaded for Olerud, who singled in a run his first time up. And he gets hit. That'll force in a run. Erickson hits him in the ankle. Felipe Crespo comes in to score, and it's now 3-1. And the bases are still loaded. Olerud limping down to first. We'll get credit for a run batted in. And Davey Johnson's going to get on the phone to the bullpen.
I think what he is he is upset with the control. See, the ball is supposed to be on the inside part and really hits John right around the kneecap. Very tough place. Not much body fat in that area, just pretty much bone. I'll tell you, that's the toughest part to take when it's right around the kneecap or on the elbow or on the wrist.
And here comes Pat Dobson. take another look at Olerud getting hit.
It sounds like it hit a bat.
Well, the inning began with Scott Erickson walking the leadoff batter Gonzalez, who stole second. Jacob Brumfield struck out. Felipe Crespo singled. Carlos Delgado popped to short, and with 2 outs, Joe Carter singled in a run. It was replaced by Robert Perez, who ran for him. Ed Sprague was hit by a pitch to load the bases. Then John Olerud came up with the bases loaded, and Erickson hit him, forcing in another run. It's now 3-1. Terry Matthews and Mike Milchin are up in the Oriole bullpen. And Charlie O'Brien comes up. Maybe they can get him out because he's 0 for 10 with the bases loaded.
Well, the thing is, he likes to be hit by pitches also.
He's been hit 17 times. He leads the club, but is second in the league to Brady Anderson.
Oh, it says the hitters don't give on the inside part of the plate.
I don't think I've ever seen 3 consecutive hitters get hit.
I can't recall last time I saw it back to back.
I remember that game Doc Ellis pitching for the Pirates hit, I don't know, 3 or 4 Cincinnati Reds in a row. Of course, there's some other things going on with Doc.
Well, he said he would have hit the first 5, but Sparky Anderson, or Danny Murtaugh, I think, took him out of the game.
We were talking with Al Oliver, who played on that Pirate team, and I said, you know, how could he keep hitting guys and nothing happened? He said, well, he hit the first guy, and you figure, no big deal, that happens. He hit the second guy, and he figured, well, he's a little wild. Then he hits the third guy. And then you begin to wonder, but
he said he actually only hit 3 in a row. The 4th one really evaded the first 4 pitches thrown, was able to take first base. But I did a special actually one time called Hardball, and Doc was part of it, and just said it really went back to the Pittsburgh Pirates, or the Cincinnati Reds the year before had really taunted the Pirates in the playoffs, you know, calling them dumb players and sort of thing. And Doc said I was just standing up for my players. I'd made up my mind I was going to drill them as long as they'd leave me out there. That's the kind of pitcher Doc Ellis was.
In the dirt, nice stop by Mark Parent.
I also remember Doc Ellis hitting Reggie Jackson right between the eyes, broke his glasses in half. Doc had thrown a pitch close to one of our hitters, Mark Belanger, and Reggie jumped up on the top step and he said, if you want to hit somebody, hit me. Hit a name player, in other words. Reggie walked up and Doc Ellis drilled him. Carried Reggie off in a stretcher.
Well, the bases are loaded as Scott Erickson tries to get himself out of a jam with the Blue Jays leading 3-1. Perez, Sprague, and Olerud aboard with 2 outs. Fouled away by O'Brien.
And obviously in this situation, no intent on the part of Scott Erickson, just wild.
Scotty's thrown 45 pitches so far, a little above average. 12 pitches per inning, about average. He's thrown about 15. Ground ball to Billy Ripken. He throws out O'Brien, who's now 0 for 11 with the bases loaded, but the Blue Jays get 2 runs to take a 3-1 lead. HTS coverage of Orioles baseball is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. With low fares on every flight, every seat, every day, fly Southwest Airlines, the airline that provides Triple Crown service. By Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile, proud sponsor of Orioles baseball on HTS, and by the National Capital Area Jeep Eagle Dealer. Blue Jays make a couple of changes. Juan Samuel takes over for John Olerud at first. Olerud was hit by a pitch.
Pretty amazing. Joe Carter leaving with a leg injury. John Olerud.
And Carter's been replaced in left by Robert Perez, who came on as a pinch runner.
Well, when we heard that replay of the Olerud beaning, I had a feeling John was not going to make it back out onto the field.
So Samuel will hit 6th, and the new pitcher is Huck Fletcher.
And the Blue Jays are falling like flies. Quantrill out of the game. Foot injury. Carter leg injury. Olerud knee injury.
Well, if you're the Blue Jays, do you take exception to the fact that 2 batters have been hit, although obviously it was not intentional?
No, they get a couple of runs out of that inning. I'm sure they're not happy, certainly, about their players being hit, but really not the sort of thing you would expect any retaliation. Plus, you have the lead. Plus, it's a pennant race. No time for, I guess, machoistic behavior.
And you just have kind of a sneaking suspicion that Cito Gaston would love to spoil the Orioles' plans for postseason in light of past history and the situation with he and Mike Mussina in the All-Star game several years ago. The fact that Oriole fans boo him hard every time he comes into Camden Yards.
I think he'd love to see the Orioles sweat and take it into Sunday with Pat Henkin on the mound.
Oh, yeah. Flenner misses and goes 1-2. Flenner relieved Paul Quantrill the last time Quantrill started against the Orioles after he took a line drive off the leg. Flenner came in and gave up just 1 run but took the loss, but he pitched very well for 4 2/3 innings. That was the only run he gave up.
He has an outstanding changeup. He's not a hard thrower. He throws in the low to mid 80s, but he has pitches he can locate. And we talk about type of pitchers that give Orioles a hard time. This is a Jamie Moyer type pitcher.
Yep, this is the kind. Robert Perez makes the catch. Guys who change speed, use both sides of the plate, keep the ball down, quite frequently create problems for the Orioles. Jamie Moyer and Sean Bosky comes to mind. Don Wasden in Oakland pitched a shutout.
Really, Quantrill did a nice job of changing speeds. Not his style of pitching for 3 innings.
Strike 1 to Bobby Bonilla, who flagged to left his first time up. Quantrill with 3 innings. He allowed 1 run on just 2 hits. 3 hits, beg your pardon. Walked none and struck out 2.
And the Oriole hitters love to hit off pitchers that are predictable. They fall behind in count, work the count. They're most likely going to get something harder, a fastball. Flenner's not in that category. He goes 2-0. Most likely he'll throw a changeup, something off speed.
Fly ball to center field. Brumfield makes the catch.
Perfect example right here. He falls behind Bonilla 2-1. See the changeup go down from O'Brien, and Flenner gets an out.
Two outs, nobody on in the 4th, and Cal Ripken coming up. He flied to right his first time up against Paul Quantrill. Now facing Huck Flenner. Cal was just 1 for 8 lifetime against Flenner. Change up, swung on and missed. The Orioles as a team against Flenner coming into this game were 7 for 44. So he has obviously given them problems. Hard ground ball, Sprague with a diving stop to his feet, throws, and the throw pulls Samuel off the bag. Cal is safe.
You see Sprague a little unhappy with himself that he had some time to make the throw, and Juan Samuel, not the normal first baseman. Obviously John Olerud, a much bigger target to throw to, is probably able to stay on this base.
That'll be scored as a base hit. That'll get the tying run at the plate in Eddie Murray, who is 0 for 3 lifetime against Huck Flenner. Ball 1.
Eddie going to his very upright right-handed stance. Seen him do this many times in the past. A lot of times his right-handed stance will mirror his left, very low crouch, but the back leg here a lot straighter than normal, more upright. Usually his stance, he's looking for a fastball.
And Flenner's behind on him 2-0. Some pitchers you could sit on a fastball. Eddie might be looking for a changeup here.
Certainly get his guests together and look either or.
Popped it up. Juan Samuel makes the catch, and that does it for the Orioles at the end of 3.5. Toronto leads 3-1.
Tom Davis here with some of those Miller Lite highlights featuring the Red Sox and the New York Yankees. The Red Sox are leading in this game 6-1 in the 6th. Then you go back to the bottom of the 2nd. Game tied at 1, and Darren Bragg, who came over from the Seattle Mariners, doubles to the right field corner to knock in a couple of runs to give the Red Sox a 3-1 lead. Bragg later added another double that produced a run. Reggie Jefferson singled in one. So right now in the sixth inning, Boston leading the Yankees 6-1. So that's a look at the Miller Lite highlights. Let's go back to Toronto. Mel and Mike.
Welcome back to Skydome in Toronto, with the Blue Jays leading the Orioles 3-1. The Orioles entered this game with a magic number of 2. Combination of Oriole wins and Seattle Mariner losses totaling 2 would eliminate Seattle. An Oriole win tonight would also knock the White Sox out of wild card contention, but the Orioles are trailing 3-1. Sean Green will lead off for the Blue Jays in the 4th. Green grounded into a double play his first time up against Scott Erickson. He's still trying to establish his good sinker. He hasn't been real consistent yet. Ball 1. Fastball misses, 2-0. A lot of folks in Baltimore want to send some wishes back home. Jordan Steller and Brad Heyman from Pikesville would like to say hello to their friends and family in Baltimore. Ball 4, and again Scott Erickson walks the leadoff batter, just as he did in the 3rd when he put Gonzalez on. That led to 2 runs.
Yeah, you see the bullpen start to scramble around. Looks like Archie Corbin heading down the ramp to the bullpen. Milchin up again. Really, so far, Scotty really hasn't been hit around that badly, but it's really been the hit batter and the walks that make Davey Johnson very nervous at this point.
He's walked 2 and hit 2. One of the hit batsmen forcing in a run. Green runs pretty well. Hard ground ball. Cal Ripken dives, flips to Willie Ripken over to first. Double play. Oh, a thing of beauty.
Well, Cal just makes an outstanding play. Something that's been his trademark over the years. You need a big play made, hit it to shortstop. This ball appeared to be destined for center field. Flips it to brother Bill. Bill guns it to first base. Not the easiest thing to do to dive on AstroTurf.
Billy Ripken playing in place of Roberto Alomar, who was ejected from the game in the 1st inning by plate umpire John Hirschbeck. Two outs, and Jacob Brumfield steps in. He's flying to left and struck out.
And that's what can happen. You let your defense pick you up, and that's what Scotty has the ability to do with that outstanding sinker. Batter in 4 pitches. Looks like he's in trouble. Make one quality pitch. Ripken bails you out, and you got 2 outs, nobody on.
High chop up the middle. Brumfield runs well, but Cal throws him out. The end of 4 innings from Toronto. It's the Blue Jays 3 and the Orioles 1.
Ready to get wild. Get ready for the wildest Orioles regular season finale. Sunday afternoon at 12:30
on HTS.
The Orioles Wives are now accepting applications from nonprofit youth organizations who would like to be affiliated with the Orioles Wives next year. Call 410-547-6248. P.J. Surhoff leading off for the Orioles. It takes a strike from Huck Flenner. Flenner in relief of starter Paul Quantrill. Quantrill went 3 innings before departing. Down and in for a ball, and it's 1-1 to B.J. Into right center field, and that's in there for a base hit. Well, the Orioles have the leadoff man on to start the 5th.
It looks like it's a Fastball out of the strike zone and low. Nice piece of hitting by Surhoff. Lifts this ball over the infielder's head.
That's the 5th Oriole hit and the 2nd off Huck Fletcher. There's Mark Parent, who grounded to 3rd. Took a fine play by Ed Sprague to get him in the 3rd inning.
The last game that the Orioles played against the Blue Jays, which Fletcher was involved with Quantrill starting, much the same circumstances. Davey Johnson in the 7th inning pinch hit for Surhoff with Fletcher on the mound and used Pete Incaviglia, and he responded with a pinch hit base hit that ended up being the winning run in that game. I'm sure if the situation comes around again later in this game, you'll see the same switch.
1-1 to Mark Parent, who's hit 9 home runs this year, 2 with the Orioles, and both have been meaningful. The first one, September the 15th in Detroit, was a 3-run shot off Todd Van Poppel that broke the major league record for most home runs in a season by one team. It was the Orioles' 241st. And then his 2nd home run as an Oriole was in Boston. Final game of that series on Wednesday. He hit a 3-run homer off Tim Wakefield into the screen in left field to ice the game for the Orioles.
That was a 3-2 game at the time. Made it 6-2. Armando Benitez some breathing room in the 9th.
Changeup is outside to Parent. 2-1. Blue Jays 3, Orioles 1. Parent reaches for a changeup and pops it up. Felipe Crespo makes the catch. Just, you know, if you go by gut feelings, I think you would agree. We just don't really like the way this game is unfolding. It started with Roberto Alomar getting into a heated argument in the 1st inning, getting thrown out of the game. I think that took some life out of the club. And then we saw Scott Erickson come out and struggle, obviously not at his best.
Yeah, allowing a couple of cheap runs on a couple of hits batsmen. I guess the good side is that Joe Carter out of this game, as to John Olerud. But almost like a sleeper hold Fletcher has on the Orioles at the moment.
Brady Anderson up for the 3rd time. He got a line drive home run to right his last time up. Crespo charges, throws to 1st in time. Surhoff goes to 2nd.
Not a real good play by Crespo. And he had an opportunity that the way you want to do this play is either to run the runner back enough to 1st base where you can get Surhoff out. But at this point, he should just tag Surhoff or flip the 2nd to get the lead runner. The Orioles get a break and get a runner into scoring position. Right there, he has to tag or flip the 2nd.
Now Billy Ripken comes up with 2 outs, and B.J. Surhoff at 2nd. Billy doubled his first time up. He took over in the 1st after Alamar was ejected. Crespo calls for it near 2nd base, and the Orioles leave a runner in scoring position at the end of 4.5. It's still Toronto 3 and the Orioles 1.
And welcome back. Tom Davis here with a Geico Auto Insurance scoreboard, and we'll begin with the game that everybody's interested in, Seattle and Oakland, but it doesn't start until 10:05. The Mariners are 2.5 games back of the Orioles for the wild card. White Sox would be eliminated with a loss. They're scoreless with Minnesota in the 3rd. Boston leads the Yankees 6-3 in the 6th inning. Darren Bragg is driven in 3 with 2 doubles. In the National League, San Diego and Los Angeles later. Dodgers lead San Diego by 2, and Montreal trailing now the Atlanta Braves by a score of 3-1 in the 5th inning. Let's go back.
Go online with HTS and the O's in cyberspace. Point your browser to htsports.com on the World Wide Web, or go keyword HTS in America Online. And Mike and I will look for you there. Bottom of the 5th coming up, and the Blue Jays will send up the 2, 3, 4 hitters, Felipe Crespo, Carlos Delgado, and Robert Perez to face Scott Erickson, who really hasn't had his best stuff and has kind of scuffled through the first 4 innings. Switch hitting Crespo has grounded out, singled, and scored a run. Crespo, a 23-year-old infielder from Puerto Rico, who has been likened to Carlos Baerga at the same stage of their career. They're about the same body type and size, and both are switch hitters. Crespo has been a very good hitter in the minor leagues.
You can see he has a nice swing, certainly from this side of the plate.
He hit .294 last year at Syracuse. And he's got a little pop. He hit 13 home runs last season. After hitting .294 last year, Crespo hit .282 this year at Syracuse. And down he goes. Strikeout number 3 for Scott Erickson.
Tell you what, this may be a forkball or a splitter from Scotty Erickson, something he's worked on, and maybe with the way his stuff is tonight, he's going to add that pitch in, but gets the strikeout of Crespo right there with it.
Maybe this is that plan B we so often talk about.
You can see that their fingers actually spread in the glove as the signal was given. The pitch that Scotty was working on the end of last season when things were going so well.
Ball 1 to Carlos Delgado, who has singled and popped to short. Delgado stood the baseball world on its ear in 1994 when he came up to start the season. He had 8 homers in his first 48 at-bats. And then shortly after that went into a 1-for-26 slump. Before long was sent to the minor leagues.
Well, the league adjusted quickly with that dead fastball swing of Delgado's to a lot of off-speed stuff and changeups, and then after a while you can't hit your strength. You throw so much of the other stuff.
And once one team figures out how to get you out, word travels fast.
And most teams now with advanced scouts sure picked up on that quickly.
3 balls, 1 strike to Carlos Delgado, who was originally a catcher. Then the Blue Jays tried him in left field. And he went down to AAA a couple of years ago to learn how to play first base. You really kind of hate to have a young player, and he is young, be your designated hitter. Hit hard. Billy Ripken stays with it off the carpet and over to first. And now Robert Perez coming up for the first time. He entered the game as a pinch runner for Joe Carter in the 3rd inning. Stayed in to play left field.
Yeah, taking nothing away from Robert Perez, but at this point in his career, certainly not Joe Carter hitting in the 4th spot. This is a batter position in the lineup that will become more important as this game winds along.
Ball 1 to Perez. He's hitting .325 as a part-time player this year. He turns on this one and wallops it foul. Perez is from Venezuela. Last year he won the International League batting title at Syracuse, hitting .343. I see the Syracuse team has changed their name from the Syracuse Chiefs to the Super Chiefs.
Sky Chiefs.
Or Sky Chiefs, beg your pardon. And Scotty makes him look bad as Perez strikes out. The Blue Jays are down in order at the end of 5. Toronto leads 3-1. Apply now for the new Orioles and Cal Ripken MasterCards. Each card issued by MBNA America Bank has no annual fee and features the Orioles logo. Call now at 1-888-3332-HIT. And the slump-ridden Todd Zeile leading off for the Orioles in the 6th. He has fallen into a big-time slump. Todd is 0 for his last 19 and 1 for his last 28. 1-1 to Zeal, who tonight has fouled to the right fielder and grounded to short. He lays off a high fastball. It's 2-1. Changeup is popped up. Sprague down from third and makes the catch. And Huck Fletcher's really kept the Orioles hitters off stride with that changeup.
Yeah, you're going to wonder if the Orioles hitters will collectively make a switch instead of sitting on hard stuff 2-0, 2-1. They may want to make the flip over to the changeup if Flinner does not throw some fastballs in that situation. Key to being a successful pitcher is to be unpredictable. Anytime that you throw one changeup over 2-0, it sends a message to the rest of the club that we can't sit on a fastball. But if every time you go 2-1 you throw a changeup, they start to look for it.
0-1 to Rafael Palmeiro, who does have a home run off Huck Fletcher. But Fletcher gets ahead in the count, 0-2.
Fletcher is the type of pitcher that will take advantage of a wide or low strike zone. He has that kind of control. He must rely on control to be successful. See, many times where that glove of O'Brien goes, so goes the ball.
Palmeiro had a home run off Fletcher at Camden Yards July 15th in the Orioles' 8-6 win. He gave up 2 home runs in that game. The other was to Mark Smith. 2-2. Blue Jays 3, Orioles 1. The only Oriole run came on a home run by Brady Anderson in the third. A drive into center field. Brumfield races in and makes the catch. Well, Fletcher's pitching very much tonight, as he did in Baltimore. Changing speeds, keeping his fastball down.
Well, you have an infield hit really to show for it, and a pitch that Surhoff had to really reach out of the strike zone to flare into the outfield. The only 2 hits they have off Fletcher. Haven't been able to have that good swing at Fletcher yet. Let's see what Bobby does in this situation. Fletcher already retired him on a 2-1 changeup.
Changeup misses outside, 2-0. Another changeup from a 2-0 change. And why does the hitter swing? Because it looks just like a fastball, the same arm action.
Yeah, you see that wrist flip looks just like a fastball.
Bobby hits this one in the air into shallow left field. Alex Gonzalez takes charge, and that does it for the Orioles. They're down in order. The end of 5½. Toronto 3 and the Orioles 1.
And welcome back. Tom Davis here with those Miller Lite highlights. We're featuring the Red Sox and the New York Yankees. 6-4 Boston in the 6th inning. Mariners have Alex Rodriguez. The Yankees have Derek Jeter. And the Red Sox have Nomar Garcia-Parra. Here he hits his 4th home run for the season. He could certainly be a factor next year for the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox lead the Yankees now 6-4 in the 6th inning. Darren Bragg has driven in 3 runs with 2 doubles. Reggie Jefferson has singled in 1. Let's go back to Toronto and Mel Proctor and Mike Flanagan.
Welcome back to Toronto. A big game for the Orioles. They're all big at this stage, but this one has some significance below the surface. If the Orioles should win this game tonight and Seattle should lose, the Orioles would clinch the wild card spot, which would enable Davey Johnson to set up his pitching for the playoffs. Mike Mussina is scheduled to pitch tomorrow, so if the Orioles had clinched tonight, Davey said he would discuss it with Moose and probably leave it up to him as to whether he wants to start tomorrow, because he'll be going for 20 wins. If he does start, you probably only let him go 5 innings. But if the Orioles lose tonight and don't clinch, then they go to tomorrow.
Yep, and again, only a couple of games left. Anything can happen. So the Orioles would like to get this over with as quickly as possible, and the best way to do it is for the Orioles to win. Obviously, if they win the rest of their games, they're in.
Swing and a miss by Ed Sprague, who has doubled and scored and been hit by a pitch.
That Seattle game, I guess, due to start in less than an hour. So they'll be very much aware of the score in this game. which would be extra incentive if it were to remain the same.
1 ball, 1 strike to Sprague, who has hit Scott Erickson well over the years. 11 hits in 29 at bats against him.
It would be very disheartening for the Seattle Mariners to know the Orioles had already won, and if they lose the extra pressure, then they're finished. Almost like sudden death. We don't win this game. But if the Orioles were to lose, a little bit more breathing room for the Mariners.
And Mike Maceda's mound opponent tomorrow is scheduled to be right-hander Eric Hanson, who's had a difficult year. He's lost 17 games. He's 13-17.
But he has good stuff. I mean, he's had an off year. He really struggled at the beginning of the year. But he's a pitcher, I think, that won 14, 15 games for the Red Sox last season.
Sprague pulls one into left field. B.J. Surhoff dives and makes the catch. Terrific shoestring catch by B.J. He takes an extra base hit away from Sprague.
Well, it's the first time Scott Erickson's been able to retire Sprague in his last 4 at-bats. 3 doubles and hit by a pitch. Another terrific play on AstroTurf. You see, it's unforgiving. You don't slide like you would on normal grass surface. It sort of grabs, and that really burns the forearm. See, I'm looking at it right there because it's just obviously a rug burn.
Juan Samuel up for the first time. And he almost gets hit. Well, Erickson has already hit 2 batters tonight. Obviously not trying to do that, but the Blue Jays are getting a little upset about it, a little tired of it.
And that's what happens is now you'll hear some yelling from the Blue Jay dugout. Hey, let's throw it over the plate. You know, your control is not that bad.
Scotty hit Sprague and John Olerud in the 3rd. Olerud had to leave the game.
Well, he only hit 9 all year coming into tonight, so this streak of wildness a little uncharacteristic.
Foul back, and it's 1-1 to veteran Juan Samuel. Hitting .259 with 8 homers. Still a good fastball hitter.
A little bit angry at the moment. Anytime you're knocked down, you want to climb right back up on that horse and let it fly. You want to pay the pitcher back.
One and two. Slider low. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Scott Erickson has allowed 3 runs on 5 hits, walked 2, struck out 4, and hit 2 batters. Strike 3. There's that liberal strike zone of John Hirschbeck, and Samuel is upset.
The key is when you know it's a big strike zone, being able to throw it in the proper position. But you see, this is clearly, I think, off the outside corner. See Samuel lean, and he knows when he leans, that's about how far that outside strike zone is. So when it's outside of that, you just take it. But in this case, called a strike.
Strikeout number 5 for Scott Erickson, and with 2 outs, here's Charlie O'Brien. He grounded out with the bases loaded the last time he was up. A drive to center field, but playable for Brady Anderson. And the Blue Jays are down in order at the end of 6 from Skydome. Toronto leads 3-1. Here's the Hoover game summary for tonight. Roberto Alomar was ejected in the 1st inning by plate umpire John Hirschbeck after arguing a 3rd strike call. Brady Anderson hit his 49th home run, tied the game 1-1. Joe Carter drove in a run to make it 2-1, and Scott Erickson hit 2 batters, 1 to load the bases, another to force in a run, and Toronto leads 3-1.
It appears that Scotty Erickson settling back in a groove, and now it's just a question, will they be able to get something off of Flenner before we get any deeper into that Blue Jay bullpen.
Flenner came in the 4th. He's allowed just 2 hits. He's walked none, struck out none, retired the last 6 batters he's faced. Cal Ripken had a single off of him in the 4th. That's the first hit he gave up. The other was a leadoff single by Surhoff in the 5th.
An infield single. Ed Sprague make a nice diving stop, but wasn't able to make an accurate throw to first. Surhoff blooper the only other hit.
One and one to count. Changeup is low, and it's 2-1. Looks like Cal's kind of a little different type of stance again.
Yeah, well, he's spreading out. They're trying to protect against that changeup.
Alex Gonzalez up with it and over to first. Got him. Nice play.
If you're a pitcher, this is what you want to see happen. The hitters spread out a little bit. Gonzalez with that cannon throwing arm right on the money to Sam Wells. One of the fine young shortstops in the league.
Here's Eddie Murray, who's 0 for 2. Line shot caught by Ed Sprague. About the hardest ball the Orioles have hit off Flenner, but right to Sprague.
Eddie going up there looking for that changeup this time. Hits it right on the button. But so far this series, terrific defense shown by the Blue Jays. Sprague's made a couple of plays on foul balls last night. Line drive pretty much right at Sprague this time.
And with help from his defense, Huck Flenner is now retired 8 consecutive hitters. Here's B.J. Surhoff, who has one of the 2 Oriole hits off Flenner. Strange how things turn out. I mean, so much for the best laid plans. With Paul Quantrill starting the game, unable to continue past the 3rd. They bring Flenner in just as he did in Baltimore, and he's pitching extremely well. The Blue Jays have the lead.
Well, you know, there's some question of whether Flenner was the first choice to start this game if Quantrill couldn't go.
Bounce foul off first base.
Cito having a little chuckle from Juan Samuel, fielding that ground ball, just flips it in the stands. Anytime a pitcher likes a certain grip or feel of a baseball, they're not all alike. A little upset when the fielder just tosses it out.
Flenner backs Surhoff off the plate. It's 2-2. Huck Flenner, a 27-year-old left-hander from Fairfield, California, played college ball at Cal State Fullerton. Inside, 3-2. Flenner has not given up any walks so far. Neither did Quantrill, so no walks by Blue Jay pitching tonight.
It's a little tougher for a left-hander, especially with some of Flenner's changeup.
There's a walk, ball 4.
A lot of times you'll see left-handed pitchers that have a difficult time with a left-handed hitter. Those with a changeup really takes that pitch away. The tails in towards the left-handed hitter and away from the right, much more effective to the right-handed hitter.
That brings up Mark Parent, who represents the tying run. Parent is grounded to third, popped to second. A big, strong guy who can occasionally get a hold of one.
It's a terrific low ball hitter. If you have to say where Mark Parent's zone would be down and in.
He cues this one foul. Parent has 9 homers and only 134 at bats. Three runs, 5 hits, and no errors for the Blue Jays. 1 run, 5 hits, no errors for the Orioles. Parent takes low, and it's 1-1. Wonder how long Flenner can go. He came in the 4th. This is his 4th inning of work.
Well, the same scenario in Baltimore. Quantrill pitched the first 3. Flenner came in, pitched the scoreless 4th, 5th, and 6th. Incaviglia started off in the 7th against Flenner.
Parent lines it to Ed Sprague for the 3rd out. We head to the bottom of the 7th in Toronto with the Blue Jays leading 3-1.
And Tom Davis walking back with a Geico Auto Insurance scoreboard. We're still waiting for the Seattle Mariners to start their game against Oakland. It's a 10:05 start. The Mariners 2.5 out of the wild card. The White Sox now lead Minnesota 2-1 in the 5th. Ray Durham a 2-run homer. 1 White Sox loss and they're eliminated. The Yankees, who have already won the East, trailing Boston 6-4 in the 7th inning. Darren Bragg driven in 3 for the Bo Sox. San Diego and LA a little bit later on. 10:05 start. Dodgers lead the Padres by 2. And Montreal 1 back in the wild card, trailing Atlanta 4-3 in the 6th inning. Let's go back to Toronto and Mel and Mike.
A reminder, the Jim Palmer Golf Classic is coming up Monday, October 7th at Turf Valley. For information or to sign up, call 410-771-9000. Well, the Orioles are being quietly lulled to sleep tonight by left-hander Huck Fletcher. Toronto leads 3-1.
Well, now it's Scotty Erickson's job just to keep it where it is. See a pat on the side from pitching coach Mel Queen. I'm sure there's action in the Blue Jay bullpen. They figured to get 3 or 4 innings out of Fletcher would be an excellent job. Last time the Orioles got the Fletcher in the 4th. But it's Erickson's job right here to keep the score as is and give his team a chance to win. Pull it out in the last couple of innings.
Well, Scotty has worked into the 7th. He'll face the 8-9 and leadoff batter Sean Green, Alex Gonzalez, and Jacob Brumfield in the 7th. Strike 1 to Green.
The reason I think Scotty Erickson we're a little bit on his start tonight, but if you look up on the board, it's the 7th inning. He's only allowed 3 runs. Usually 6 innings, 3 runs, considered by some a quality start.
Base hit for Green.
But the fact that the Orioles only have 1 run, if they had their normal 5 or 6 at this point, I think we'd be raving what a great job Scotty was doing. So many times the score becomes the indicator of how a pitcher is pitching.
And let's see what Cito Gaston will do here with the runner at first, nobody out. Will he ask the number 9 hitter Gonzalez to bunt?
Well, we've seen him bunt before. Just a question if Cito wants to play for 1 or try to go for the big inning knockout.
Scott Erickson has now allowed 6 hits.
Again, that throw over is more for Davey Johnson to see if Gonzalez will slide his hand up the bat, maybe tipping off what he's going to do. Wouldn't be surprised to see another throw over. See that sign coming to Mark Parent from the dugout. Just one of really the coaching staff will have its eyes pinned more on Gonzalez.
Terry Matthews, Jesse Orozco are up in the Oriole bullpen. Green is running. They play hit and run. Throw to second, and he is out. Big play by Mark Parent and Billy Ripken slapping the tag on Sean Green, and he's cut down.
Well, he just about rips Billy Ripken's shoulder off. Real tough play to hang in because his throw tailing into the runner. And Billy will catch it and make the tag in one motion, and watch that left shoulder get torn back. So not feeling too good at the moment. Sometimes your hand will go numb from the impact.
One and 1 to Gonzalez as Erickson goes back to the windup with the bases empty and 1 out. Toronto leads 3-1. Erickson has settled down over the last 3 innings, throwing much better than he did early in the game. Slider is outside. Scotty has now worked at least 6 innings in 25 of his 34 starts this year.
That's where that label horse comes in. I think if you go back and look at one pitch in this game, struggled through the 3rd inning where he hit a couple of hitters. In the 4th inning, leadoff walk. It looked like maybe more of the same. And Cal Ripken turned a beautiful double play on a sinker hit up the middle. And since then, Scotty's been in a pretty good groove.
Well, Scotty goes 3-1 to Gonzalez, who's already shown that he could steal a base. He walked leading off the 3rd inning, stole second. That led to a run. And he walks him again.
Not really sure where that pitch was. Hirschbeck very much a low ball umpire. This pitch appears to be over the center of the plate, but for Hirschbeck's strike zone, maybe high.
It's over the plate, no question.
No question about that.
Jacob Brumfield up. Let's see if he'll take a pitch to allow Gonzalez to run. Gonzalez stolen base in the third, was his 16th of the year. Scott Erickson has now allowed 32 stolen bases with 4 caught stealing.
Getting better. That certainly was one of the bigger ones of the year.
Mark Parent threw out Sean Green trying to steal. It's almost like Scotty used a slide step there. I don't think he had one.
Making some adjustments. What you'd like to see, and if that's really something that's happened with Scotty, I'd say from about mid-season on. Had a terrific run at one point. His record was 5-10. He's worked it all the way back to 13-11. 8-1 going into tonight. His last 9 decisions.
And he goes 2-0 to Jacob Brumfield. The Blue Jays are very happy with Brumfield, who was acquired earlier this year from the Pirates. And he's hit 12 home runs here and very few at bats, less than 300 at bats.
And he's a sort of count normally that you could put a hit and run on with Erickson being around the plate, but he's been exceptionally wild tonight.
There goes the runner. Brumfield grounds it. Cal Ripken's only plans to first. And Gonzalez goes to second as the Blue Jays stab the double play.
Actually looked more like a hit and run. Trying to go to the opposite field. Brumfield, that is. Gets jammed badly. The ball just beats in on his hands.
And here's Felipe Crespo playing second base tonight. He's gone 1 for 3 and a single and a run scored in third. Trying to give the Blue Jays an insurance run, and Davey Johnson is heading out to the mound. Crespo is a switch hitter.
Davey's walking. He's going to make the move.
So we'll get a pitching change. Scott Erickson leaves. Jesse Orozco's on his way in, and it's time now for the Bell Atlantic call of the bullpen. Now is the time to reserve your membership to the Camden Club, located on the 7th and 8th floors of the warehouse overlooking Oriole Park. The Camden Club is a great place to dine before the game or catch a snack afterwards. For membership information, call 410-332-4649. Jesse Orozco comes in with a runner at second base and 2 outs to face the switch-hitting Felipe Crespo. Crespo doesn't have enough at bats this year to really tell whether he's better right-handed or left-handed, but I'm sure the Orioles have a more detailed scouting report on him that shows him that he's probably a better hitter left-handed, so they bring in the lefty Orozco and will force him to bat right-handed.
Who's been equally tough on lefties and righties and just really had a marvelous season. If you eliminate a couple of bad outings early in the year, he would have a 1.53 ERA. It's allowed earned runs in just 6 of his last 56 outings.
Jesse worked a third of an inning last night, coming in the 9th. And getting Carlos Delgado, a left-hand hitter, to bounce into a force play. And then Armando Benitez came in to get the save, getting the final out.
I think maybe Davey feeling Erickson struggled enough for tonight. Bring in the veteran.
Blue Jays 3, Orioles 1. Slider for a strike to Crespo.
Jesse's been around long enough to know not to give in to Crespo. He has a left-handed hitter in Delgado on deck that just has had a horrible time hitting left-handed pitching.
Ryan outside. Scott Erickson went 6 2/3. He allowed 3 runs on 6 hits, walked 3, struck out 5, hit 2 batters, and threw a total of 85 pitches. The runner at second base belongs to Scotty. Two and 1. This is the first time that Felipe Crespo has ever faced Jesse Orozco.
Yes, you really think the advantage goes to Orozco, even though he's behind in the count.
High fly ball to left. And P.J. Surhoff makes the catch as the Blue Jays leave a runner at second. The end of 7. It's still Toronto 3 and the Orioles 1. HDS coverage of Orioles baseball is brought to you by the genuine Bell Atlantic Yellow Pages. Hungry? Grab the genuine Bell Atlantic Yellow Pages and have dinner delivered right to your door without missing any action. By Principal Healthcare of the Mid-Atlantic, what healthcare is meant to be. And by Canon, so advanced. It's simple. Well, Huck Fletcher did his job. He gave the Blue Jays 4 shutout innings in relief of starter Paul Quantrill, and gives way to Paul Spoljaric, who has pitched well against the Orioles this year. He picked up a save. First game at Camden Yards in the last series, September 20th, coming in and striking out Rafael Palmeiro with the bases loaded.
Yeah, he's had good outings against the Orioles. We saw him early in the season. He really opened our eyes. Outstanding stuff. You see Cito Gaston bringing in a left-hander right behind Fletcher. The Orioles on the year just 24-25 against left-handed starters, and 63-24 against right-handers. So Cito choosing to stay left-handed as long as possible.
Brady Anderson opens the inning with a line drive single to right, his second hit of the game and his 5th in this series.
You get the feeling, time running out in this game. Now at least the tying run will walk to the plate. Spoljaric more of a power pitcher than the previous pitcher, Huck Fletcher.
And now Billy Ripken up for the third time.
Chipped in a double, first time up.
Lashes this one foul.
Billy goes up there swinging. No good bat control. Hit the ball all over the ballpark.
Billy hitting .233 this year. He's only had 129 at bats. Slide step by Spoljaric, and he throws it past Billy Ripken. 0-2.
Many times that slide step will have an effect on the hitter. He's used to the pitcher coming set, lifting that leg up, and sort of having a rhythm. Slide step fastball many times gets on you a little bit quicker, not quite ready.
A high drive to right field. Sean Green on the move into the corner. Makes the catch. Brady Anderson tags, heading for second. The throw is not in time. Brady gets into scoring position. Sean Green has made all the plays in the outfield of this series so far.
I thought at first his ball was going to twist into the stands, but ended up being a fair ball. Brady alertly, when he sees Green get back on his heels, hustles into second base. Green has an outstanding arm. Because he was moving back or towards the fence on the play, Brady able to sneak into second base.
Dane Johnson, right-hander. Roberto Duran, left-hander, throwing in the bullpen. It's not the same Roberto Duran, is it?
No mas. No mas. Funny what you remembered for, huh? I don't think it's the same.
No. Ball 1 to Todd Zeile, who's 0 for 3 tonight. 0 for his last 20 and 1 for his last 29. So if nothing else, he's due. Blue Jays lead 3-1. It's getting late. And Zeile pops it up, shallow center. Brumfield comes in. 2 outs. The Orioles haven't had a hit since P.J. Surhoff's, well, they had a single by Brady in this inning, but prior to that, the last hit was an infield hit by Surhoff back in the 5th. They only have 6 hits the whole game. They had 4 off Paul Quantrill, 2 off Huck Fletcher, 1 off Paul Spoljaric. And here's Rafael Palmeiro, the man that Spoljaric struck out September 20th to pick up a save. He fanned him with the bases loaded, and the Blue Jays held off the Orioles 5-1 with Spoljaric getting his first save. High, lazy fly ball into left center. Brumfield makes the catch. That does it for the Orioles. They head to the bottom of the 8th with Toronto up 3-1.
Ready to get wild. Get ready for the wildest Orioles regular season finale. Sunday afternoon at 12:30.
On HTS.
All rights to this telecast are reserved, and any rebroadcast, recording, retransmission, or other use of this telecast without the express written permission of the Baltimore Orioles and Westinghouse Broadcasting Company is prohibited. The Orioles, Pat Gillick and Kevin Malone looking rather glum. That's Davey Johnson's wife Susan sitting next to Pat.
Well, not much to cheer about.
3-1 Toronto. Carlos Delgado leads off the Blue Jay 8th. Ball 1 to Delgado, who's hitting less than 200, about 145 against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, way less. Real difficult time. I think Cito wants to see him the end of the season, see if he can handle it now that they're way out of the race, not spend another player. A number of players have gone down tonight.
You know, he's got a couple of strikes against him because he's a young player with tremendous power, great talent, but he doesn't really have a position, and he can't hit left-handed pitching.
Well, he's sort of uncompromising at the plate. He really doesn't change his swing. Many hitters will either choke up against a tough lefty, which Orozco is, try to hit the ball the opposite field, but Delgado really doesn't change anything and still helicopters.
That's a strike. Delgado came up as a catcher, was no great shakes defensively, but they thought they could live with his defense if he would continue to hit, and they thought he'd get better defensively, and then he developed shoulder problems. Takes a wild hack. See his head flying out on that one. 2-2. But he can hit the ball as far as anybody.
It doesn't matter if it goes 350 or 450, though. It's just one home run, so a lot of times you see hitters cut down on their distance.
Struck him out.
Well, no great surprise there. Orozco said very tough on left-handers, that low sidearm delivery, and able to locate.
Delgado's now struck out 136 times this year. And here comes the skipper.
Well, doing his best to keep this score right where it is.
Terry Matthews coming in to face Robert Perez. Will return to Toronto where the Blue Jays lead 3-1. Right-hander Terry Matthews takes over for the Orioles in the 8th to face Robert Perez. Jesse Orozco worked 2/3 of an inning, struck out 1. Perez is hitting over 300 against both right and left-handed pitching.
Yeah, terrific swing. First chance we really had to get an extensive look at Perez in this game that Joe Carter left. But very powerfully built, very quick to the ball inside.
He chops this one to third. Todd Zeile has it, but it's a foul ball. So Perez will have to come back. Blue Jays lead it 3-1. Toronto took the lead in the second inning when Ed Sprague led off with a double. John Olerud singled him home, and the Orioles tied it up on Brady Anderson's 49th home run in the third. And the Blue Jays scored twice in the third, with Joe Carter driving in the go-ahead run, and then Scott Erickson hit Ed Sprague below the bases, hit the next batter, John Olerud, to force in the run and make it 3-1. foul back.
That seems to be the pitch right there. That's the equalizer against Robert Perez. Very good fastball hitter. Not quite the same swing at the sliders and forkballs.
Well, the White Sox lead Minnesota 3-1 in the 6th. The White Sox mathematically are still alive for the time being, but if the Orioles would win this game, that would eliminate Chicago. Seattle plays at Oakland tonight.
Game due to start in about 15 minutes.
Terry Mulholland will pitch for the Mariners against Dave Tailgater of the A's. Line foul. The Orioles would hope to win tonight, and they certainly like their chances with Scott Erickson going. They hadn't lost in the month of September the last 2 years.
20-7 lifetime in the month of September.
He didn't pitch badly. He didn't pitch as good as he has this past month, but it's good enough to win a lot of games. But the Orioles have managed only 1 run.
Yeah, bet on a Brady Anderson tee shot. It's really 1 pitch out of all the ones thrown.
A shot by Todd Zeile into left field, and Perez singles to left.
And that's a pitch that we told you about, that Perez handles so well, that down and in. Many times a right-hander, even though he's not aiming there, because of that natural movement into a right-hander. That's where this pitch ends up. See how quick Perez is to this pitch.
That's the 7th Blue Jay hit. And it brings up Ed Sprague. Davey Johnson again on the phone to the bullpen.
Doing everything in his power to try to keep this score as is. Give his team 1 more shot at it.
Fastball is high to Sprague, who doubled and scored in the 2nd. Was hit by a pitch to load the bases in the 3rd. And then was robbed of a base hit in the 6th by B.J. Surhoff. He hit a sinking liner toward the left field line, and B.J. made the shoestring catch.
It's also a situation, I guess, certainly recently you may have seen Alan Mills in. But Millsy has a sort of strained groin muscle.
One and 1 to Sprague, still looking for that 100th run batted in. 99 RBIs, a career high. His previous high was 74 last year. The converted catcher has become a solid player with the Blue Jays out of Stanford University. One and 2. Terry Matthews acquired earlier this year from the Florida Marlins for a player to be named later. It turned out to be Greg Zahn. Davey Johnson wanted to get him, based largely on the way Matthews had pitched against Davey's Cincinnati team last year. So we couldn't hit him with a paddle. And he strikes out Sprague.
Sprague's a pretty good cripple hitter, but when you throw the ball down and away in this spot, not much any hitter is going to do with it. Quality pitch from Terry Matthews.
And now Juan Samuel steps in to face Matthews. Samuel took over at first base for the injured John Olerud. He takes a pitch outside. Samuel is 0 for 1. He was called out on strikes in the 6th. Pretty much a dead fastball hitter. He gets a high fastball and pops it up. No play for Rafael Palmeiro.
See Samuel expanding the strike zone there. Very much a free swinger, difficult to walk. He holds the major league record for most at bats in a season. 701 official plate appearances. It's a lot of free swinging.
Randy Myers is throwing in the Oriole bullpen. 3-1 Toronto. And Robert Perez draws the throw. Juan Samuel spent most of his career in the National League with the Phillies, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Reds. Spent 2 years with the Tigers. Last year played with Detroit and Kansas City. Nice stop by Mark Parent.
Yeah, terrific. So many stats in the game today. They should keep one for this play. Terrific backhanded play, preventing another runner from getting into scoring position.
Juan Samuel faced the Orioles in 1983 World Series while playing with Philadelphia. That was his rookie year. He reaches for one and pops it up. We'll see if Palmeiro will have a play this time as it carries toward the seats. He leans but can't make the play.
Robbie saying just out of reach. Torture. Infielders getting on him. He said 4 rows back, not 2. I can only reach 2. We saw Ed Sprague go into the stands the other night. See, 4 rows back. I can't reach that. Saw Sprague go at least 2 into the stands last night. 4 may be a little out of reach.
And the count is 2-2 to Juan Samuel. Robert Perez at first. 2 outs. The Blue Jays leading 3-1. Perez is running. And Samuel pops it up again. It's been a little further back in row 12.
We'll see if Robbie gives him how many rows this is. And he just did. He came that's about 9 rows back. 15 rows back.
Wasn't far off. I said 12. Jerry Matthews collecting his thoughts, trying to figure out a way to get Juan Samuel out. Samuel's best year in the big leagues was in 1987 with the Phillies when he hit 28 homers and drove in 100 runs.
I figure the 2-2 count, pretty good odds that Samuel excuse me, will be swinging at anything close. And also probably a strike to be thrown by Matthews, so pretty good chance you'll see Perez in motion again.
Perez does not run and Samuel strikes out. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. At the end of 8, Toronto leads 3-1. Congratulations to Mrs. M.E. Cade. No player hit for the cycle, but Mrs. Cade has won a Sony 27-inch stereo television by playing in tonight's giant HCS Orioles $1 Million Magic. See if you can turn your field of dreams into a field of green. Watch the Orioles on O's TV and see your local giant for details. The Blue Jays bring in their closer, Mike Timlin, with 29 saves. Try to shut the Orioles down tonight. They will send up Bobby Bonilla, Cal Ripken, and Eddie Murray. Tomas Perez takes over at second base for the Blue Jays. Now, the Orioles handed Timlin a loss on July the 15th in Baltimore when Chris Hoyles hit a 3-run homer off of him to beat the Blue Jays and Timlin 8-6.
And he was on a tremendous roll at that time. He had retired something like 31 of the last 33 hitters he had faced. Outstanding stuff. Power sinker, much like Scott Erickson's, maybe as hard but without as much break. Fastball slider pitcher.
So it'll be Bonilla, Ripken, and Murray coming up for the Orioles in the ninth. Last chance. Down 3-1. Bobby Bonilla is 1 for 1 with a home run off Mike Timlin.
Well, the difference
Cal
here.
Ripken is 2 for 11, and Eddie Murray is 0 for 5.
Well, these Oriole hitters may be happy just for the fact that Timlin, a right-handed pitcher. Timlin very much a hard thrower. Another thing in the Oriole favor, they like the hard thrower, especially Bonilla. He likes to get up on that fastball.
Ball one to Bobby Bo.
Yeah, Timlin starts him off with a slider. Well aware of that fact.
Timlin gave up 2 home runs in that game July 15th, and one of them was to Bonilla. The other was the game winner to Hoyles.
Yeah, he hit a low middle fastball. Remember it well. Bobby hits another one off his foot. Hit one off that ankle left-handed earlier in the year that really bothered him for quite some time. What he's saying is not again.
Well, the Blue Jays got a tremendous effort from their bullpen tonight. The starter Paul Quantrill could only go 3 innings, but Huck Flanner gave them 4 shutout innings. Paul Spoljaric worked 1 scoreless inning, and now Timlin in to try to save it. He misses inside.
Really, Quantrill, a member of the bullpen for most of the season.
Three and 1. If Bonilla can get on, that would get the tying run to the plate. Bobby's still hurting.
And they may have to run for Bobby if he is to reach first base.
He's still in pain.
What happens is it just sort of goes numb and you feel like you have nothing underneath you. You don't get the feeling back.
Ball 4, and he takes a walk. Only the 2nd walk allowed by Blue Jay pitching tonight. Let's see if the Orioles run for Bonilla. Looks like Mike Devereaux will run for him.
Timlin's only walked, that's the 18th in 54 innings. He usually has pretty good control.
Well, Devereaux running at first for Bonilla. Cal Ripken is the hitter.
He just always seems to struggle against this Oriole lineup. At least in this situation, the tying run now at the plate. Team that shattered their major league record for homers.
Ball 1 to Cal Ripken. Cal is 2 for 11, hitting 182 off Mike Timlin. That's low. 2-0. The Blue Jay fans are getting restless as Timlin walked the leadoff batter and now goes 2-0 to Cal. And that'll bring Mel Queen out to the mound.
That's a real tough situation again, and Cito's not going to wait too long and get somebody up quickly. Probably saying anyone down there left-handed. Used to have Tony Castillo, since been traded to the White Sox. What he's saying here is, you can't keep falling behind. Okay, let's attack the strike zone. It's 2-0. And most times, if I were a hitter, right after the pitching coach leaves, the next pitch I would look for a fastball right down the middle, because most times the coach goes out there, it's because the pitcher is wild. So you can guarantee that Cal will be leaning back. With Dane Johnson up and throwing in the pen.
And Timlin delivers a strike, and it's 2-1. Timlin has picked up saves in each of the last 3 games he's pitched in. The most recent one against Detroit a couple of days ago. Two and 2. He has 29 saves, but he's also blown 7 saves this year. Strikes out Cal Ripken. So after falling behind count 2-0, Timlin comes back defending.
Well, some magic words from pitching coach Mel Queen. 3 straight strikes from Timlin. Fastball and a couple of sliders. He has outstanding stuff. Question, can he get it over the plate?
And now Eddie Murray steps in. Eddie, who's never had a hit off Tim when he's 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. And a long drive to left center field, way back there, and off the base of the fence. Devereaux streaking toward third. Sam Palazzo's waving him home, and he will score to make it 3-2. Eddie Murray just missed tying this game. But he settles for a double, and the Blue Jays' lead is cut to 1 run, 3-2.
Well, Eddie got the head of that big bat to the Timlin fastball. Hit just about to the farthest part of this ballpark. Ball carried extremely well. No doubt about it was going to be in for a hit. A question of it, would it have enough leg to get over the fence? What it does, and it'll probably pinch run for Murray in this situation, I would imagine.
Tony Tarasco will run for Eddie. The RBI, the 79th of the year for Eddie Murray.
The Orioles would like nothing better to get back into this game.
The tying run is at second base with 1 out, and B.J. Surhoff up.
From the story of the Orioles season, don't crack that door open. We just may kick it in.
B.J. Surhoff has been successful against Mike Timlin. He has 3 hits in 6 at-bats. Fly ball into shallow center. Here comes Brumfield, and he makes the catch. And there are 2 outs in the 9th.
He actually hit it too good. Looked like he had a little bit on the hands, but not enough to have it bloop in.
And now Davey Johnson will send up Chris Hoyles, who hit the game-winning home run off Timlin earlier this year. He'll hit for Mark Parent. 3-2 Blue Jays. 2 outs in the 9th.
I think that's why the choice over maybe Pete Incaviglia in this situation.
Incaviglia is 0 for 4 against Timlin. Hoyles is 3 for 6 with a home run.
Cito just got word that his bullpen's raring to go.
So Chris Hoyles, who won the game July 15th at Camden Yards, hitting a 3-run homer off Timlin to give the Orioles an 8-6 win, comes up with a runner at second base and 2 outs. Slider for a strike. Another slider and a strike 2.
That was a real tough one there. The first one somewhat hittable. That one just a perfect slider. Now if you're Mike Timlin, here's this slider just about unhittable in that location.
Swing and a miss, and Chris Hoyles strikes out to end the ball game. The Orioles lead the tying run at second base. And the Orioles' plans for postseason will be put on hold for the time being. The totals tonight for Toronto: 3 runs, 7 hits, no errors, and 6 left. For the Orioles, 2 runs, 7 hits, no errors, and 7 left. The winner in relief is Huck Fletcher. Mike Timlin picks up his 30th save, and Scott Erickson suffers his first loss in September in the last 2 years. He's now 13-12. Final score from Skydome: the Blue Jays 3 and the Orioles 2.
Most news people will tell you that awards aren't very important. Yeah, right. That's because Fox 45 News at 10 takes home more awards than the other news stations. Winner of 11 Emmy Awards, including 9 for our outstanding videography. So if you're looking for a newscast that looks the best, sounds the best, and offers the best look at the news affecting your life, then turn to the big winner. Winner of 11 Emmy Awards. Fox 45 News at 10. the late news, an hour earlier.
Ready to get wild. Get ready for the wildest Orioles regular season finale. Sunday afternoon at 12:30.
On HTS.
Welcome back to Skydome in Toronto, where the Blue Jays have held off the Orioles, winning 3-2. And our Southwest Airlines player of the game is Toronto reliever Huck Fletcher, who took over in the 4th inning for Paul Quantrill and pitched 4 scoreless innings, allowing 2 hits, 1 walk, no strikeouts, and he was brilliant in picking up the win. We'll be back. The Orioles managed just 2 runs tonight, and Toronto wins 3-2 to put the Orioles' magic number on hold at 2. Here are the updated wild card standings in the American League. The Orioles still on top. Seattle is currently 2 games out going into their game in Oakland tonight. Chicago is 2.5 out, and they're playing right now. So if the White Sox should lose, they'll be eliminated. But the Seattle Mariners are very much alive. We'll be back. A tough loss for the Orioles tonight as they fail to pick up any more ground. The wild card chase, their magic number is still 2. Seattle plays at Oakland tonight. That game just underway. The Mariners then have 2 games left with Oakland and will have to play 1 if necessary against Cleveland. And it may be necessary unless the Orioles can win the next 2, which would make it a moot point. But a huge game tomorrow for Mike Mussina, not only going for a win to try to get the Orioles closer to that wild card spot, but he'll be shooting for his 20th win.
Well, you just don't want to have it creep closer to Sunday. And really, if Seattle wins tonight, the magic number still remaining at 2, which means if Mussina wins, they're still going to have to wait and maybe not know till later in the day what is necessary to, or what it'll take to win on Sunday. So real important, another game in Seattle tonight.
And that'll do it for tonight from Toronto. Again, our final score, the Blue Jays 3 and the Orioles 2. HTS coverage of Orioles baseball has been brought to you by Southwest Airlines. With low fares on every flight, every seat, every day. Fly Southwest Airlines, the airline that provides Triple Crown service. By your Subaru dealer, who invites you to come in and experience the beauty of all-wheel drive. By Bell Atlantic 9X Mobile, proud sponsor of Orioles baseball on HTS. By Miller Beer, taste the taste of Miller Beer, the one with the red label. By Safeway Food and Drug, nobody does it better. By the National Capital Area Jeep Eagle dealers. By Mountain Dew, do the do. And by Hoover, nobody gets the dirt like Hoover, nobody. The executive producer for HTS is Bill Brown. Tonight's game was produced by Sam Green and directed by Bill Bell. This is Mel Proctor for Mike Flanagan saying so long from Skydome in Toronto. Again, our final score is the Blue Jays 3 and the Orioles 2. Be sure to catch the Orioles on HTS Sunday at 1 o'clock when they face the Blue Jays in the final regular season game. Tom Davis gets the afternoon off with the Orioles report at 12:30 from the HTS studio. So long, everybody.